Welcome back to the Larson Show. We are live in Washington, D.C., on Capitol Hill, just down the street from the big Capitol where all the craziness goes on. And glad to take your phone calls and your emails. It gets more and more interesting. We've had not only the Kavanaugh hearing going on, but we've also had the strange op-ed from the New York Times, allegedly written by some Trump administration official. Could be the second or third banana in some unheard of part of the federal bureaucracy. But we also have some developments that relate to the Mueller investigation. Remember that? Everybody's memory of that from last week or the week before may have faded a little bit, but certainly not for the folks at Judicial Watch. And Tom Fitton, its president, joins us now. Tom, it's good to have you back on the program. You're suggesting that the president will soon declassify documents related to the Mueller probe, right?
Oh, yeah, my instinct is he ultimately will. You know, the interesting thing about specifically the FISA warrants, which were used to generate these spying authorities by the FISA courts, what we know about them, and we were able to get portions of the warrants released as a result of our lawsuit, our Freedom of Information Act lawsuit. Those portions were only released because of declassification decisions made by the president earlier this year. And that resulted in them releasing part of the material about Carter Page and the Steele dossier and things like that. Now, there are 20 more pages on these spy warrant applications the deep state used to get the spy warrants on Carter Page and basically the Trump team. Those are the pages everyone's interested in. Those who have read them say they don't need to be classified, so he should declassify them. His instincts are, he keeps on saying he thinks he's going to do it. Yeah, you know, when he says that 3 or 4 times, you could be pretty sure that it's going to happen.
Well, tell me this. Why is he holding back? I guess I can imagine 2 reasons to hold back, that there's both damaging information in there about the effort to spy on an American presidential campaign, but also that there may be things in there the president doesn't want out. Is there any other possible motivation for holding this back and not having declassified it some time ago?
Well, just imagine a deep state army of lawyers and intelligence community officials standing between you and declassification. And you'll see that's why it takes so long. You know, the president, I think, is loath to overrule them in a haphazard way, even though I know he's attacked for doing things, basically without regard for the consequences. But I think he's listening to his advisors, and they're trying to convince him not to do it. And I think he's going to do the right thing in the end.
Well, let me ask you something else. Given the and again, you've read the op-ed that was printed by the New York Times with an anonymous author who makes claims that he's one of the part of the Trump administration somewhere within the bureaucracy. Doesn't mention being a White House staffer, so we're guessing it's outside of there. But is it possible that some of the delays, or even some of the advisors who are saying, maybe you should hold off on this, are actually people who are working at cross purposes to the president? Maybe give some veracity to the claim of the anonymous op-ed writer that he's right, that there are people within the administration who are fighting against the president releasing it, not because they're looking out for the American public or even because they're looking out for the president, but because they're looking out for other people who have a dog in this fight.
Yeah, my instinct and my experience is that people interfere with the presidential decision-making process and substitute their own judgment from his, and as a result, things don't get done. I've seen it, and I'm sure it happens in areas that I'm not involved in because
Sure.
You have a confession. It wasn't an op-ed; it was a confession to criminal activity in the New York Times yesterday.
Let me ask you about another matter. Judicial Watch has released 424 pages of FBI records, including an email revealing that, Peter Strzok, fired from the FBI, had actually written the original letter that James Comey sent to Congress talking about the discovery of the Hillary Clinton emails on the laptop of Anthony Weiner, the former congressman. What'd you find in these records?
Well, there were 2 interesting things. That Strzok was involved in drafting the initial letter for Comey, which demonstrates how basically he was running the show in terms of the Clinton email investigation. Remember, the IG report criticized Strzok for delaying the handling of those Wiener laptops and the analysis of the Wiener laptop emails for a month, and the IG suggested because he was too busy trying to get Trump. And then the other set of emails suggests that just shortly before the election, Comey wrote another letter to the Congress saying, "Oh, there's still nothing there. Hillary's safe. Don't worry." Well, that was written despite him getting an email the night before at 11 p.m. that suggested strongly that they hadn't finished even looking at the emails. So, it's just more evidence that you had corrupt officials like Strzok involved, and that they were making decisions on Hillary Clinton despite having not reviewed all the evidence.
And correct me if I'm wrong, today we know that only a few thousand of those emails were actually looked at on the Wiener laptop, and that 600,000 or so were not looked at all, correct?
Yeah, we can't trust the FBI analysis. Paul Sperry wrote on Real Clear Investigations that his sources told him that Peter Strzok just pulled a select few of the emails associated with the Clinton email server and reviewed them. So we don't know what else is in there and what hadn't been reviewed.
And by the way, does a mirror image of that email server or does a mirror image of that laptop still exist so it could be re-examined and re-examined carefully if Congress or the president chooses to do it?
Yes, or if the Justice Department and the FBI choose to stop covering it up. We're not talking about the Obama Justice Department anymore. Why is this Justice Department? And this is the question I'm surprised the media hasn't asked, Lars. Does this Justice Department and this FBI endorse the Comey-Lynch-Obama analysis of what Hillary Clinton did? She didn't do anything wrong. They can be prosecuted.
It sounds like effectively they have, even if they haven't done it overtly, right?
Yeah, I think they should be held to account for where they stand on that. I mean, if they decide not to prosecute her for other reasons, tell us. But in the meantime, they seem to be ratifying this lawless approach that Comey and Lynch took in terms of letting Hillary get out of jail with the get out of jail free card.
Tom, that we've talked to then Senator Jeff Sessions at this event, Feet to the Fire. He's been willing to come before, and when we knew we were coming back for this year and we knew the time frame, we put in a request to the Attorney General's office saying would General Sessions like to come over and sit down and talk to us, and no response. Apparently Jeff Sessions, who has previously come to this event, to Feet to the Fire, was not willing to come over and talk to us now. And I would have been asking about it. In fact, I wanted to ask him whether or not Robert Mueller, if his charge is to find Russian collusion, and we know that Hillary Clinton and the DNC colluded with Russian officials through Christopher Steele, why isn't Robert Mueller pursuing that almost nearly proved example of Russian collusion to affect the outcome of the election? Because we know about that, and he hasn't found any evidence to speak of, or that I know of, that Donald Trump colluded with the Russians. So if Hillary did collude with them and to benefit her, and Donald Trump did not to benefit him, then why isn't he pursuing Hillary Clinton and company for that?
Well, it goes back to the beginning of our conversation. These FISA warrants, one of which was renewed under and for the Mueller investigation. Mueller's relying on this illicit activity that you've highlighted. Of course, he's not going to investigate himself. That's the corruption behind the whole thing, and it's why I believe it should be shut down.
I believe you're right. Tom, keep up the good work at Judicial Watch, and we always appreciate your time.
Appreciate it. Good. Thanks, Lars.